Okay. Are we ready, Betty?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have speed, so whenever you're ready, you can go.
Well, Betty, what a thrill this is for me. You know, we did this in London, after Promises, Promises, and now we're doing it here after Cats and on the eve of the Tonys, and you have a Tony nomination for Best Featured Actress in a Musical. Have I got it right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So tomorrow is the big night. I'll be on an airplane going back to Dallas, but I have my VCR going, so if I miss any of it, I'll have it on tape. I want to keep it on tape anyway.
I wish you could be there.
Oh, I wish I could. I wish I could. But let me ask you this, Betty. What does this Tony nomination mean to you?
Well, I've had time to think a lot about it. I feel it's, it feels like a validation, a final, can we stop? I'm sorry. You got to take her out. She's driving me crazy.
Let Phil hold her, and then Betty, you come back in if you like. Okay, I'll just start the whole thing again. All right. Okay. Betty, what does the Tony nomination mean to you?
I think it's a validation from my colleagues that says, you've been doing this for quite some time, and we're in support of your work. We congratulate you on a job well done, and it's like a pat on the back. It's like an endorsement, a diploma. I don't know. It just feels like a really nice thing from the people that I've been working with for quite some time. You know, there's a community, a theatrical community, and it feels like they would be saying, if I were to win, we're proud of you. You've done good. You know, that's what it means.
If you do win, please God.
Yes.
If you do win, how will you feel?
Oh, gosh, this week I've experienced what I think it would feel like, and I just think it would feel great. You know, I really hope it happens. I just think it would feel great.
And of course, there is the chance if somebody else wins.
I went through that this week. I was nominated as Best Actress in a Musical for the Drama Desk Award, and Makarova beat me, and they told me this on Wednesday. So when I went to the matinee on Wednesday, I was like, oh my goodness, you know, because I didn't really have an expectation on it, but I started feeling what that felt like, and then I started like thinking, oh my goodness, you know, what would this be if I lost? It would maybe feel something like this, only I'll be in a theater, and I'll be with my family and friends, and they'll announce this, and I'll be sitting there, you know, how will that feel? And I think it will be disappointing if I were to not win. But that's all right, you know. It's like it's all right. I've experienced it through, you know, to feel it. But I think, see, I kind of view life. I have like an intellectual view on life, and that's one thing. But it's like you have to go through certain emotions, and when you're trying to do good, it's like running a race. You want to cross the wire, you know, and you hope that you'll be first. I don't know, you know. This is so bizarre because I don't really believe in competition. So I find this very strange that I'm having all these responses. And my experience this week has been, how can you be feeling all these things and yet I am? You know, and so I've been talking to my therapist about it and friends, and concentrating on it, meditating on it. And I think it's just stuff you have to go through in life. I mean, I'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? I'll be fine either way. It's just an endorsement on the one hand, and it, you know, doesn't really mean to. I had dinner with my friend Jane Greenwood, and I've been telling everybody she won the Tony last year for her costumes in Medea. And she told me at dinner last week, she said, Betty, I've never won the Tony. And I said, I'm sure you won the Tony. I've told everyone that you're a Tony Award-winning designer. And she says, no, I've been nominated 5 times. She says, I've been a bridesmaid 5 times. And she said this as we were walking by Bergdorf Goodman, and there were all these brides in the window. She goes, but these are brides, Betty, so I think this is a symbol. You're going to win. You know, I said, oh, no, please don't tell me that, you know. Part of the problem is that a lot of people have told me this for a long time, you know, you're going to win a Tony, you're going to win a Tony, you're going to win a Tony, which is great, you know. I really appreciate that as a compliment, but your mind is like, you know, so it's like if you're not going to win, then it's like, oh my goodness, you know. So I don't know, it feels weird, very weird.
Well, we'll know, and I'll talk to you on Monday. Let's talk about Tender Mercies, Betty, because I knew that, you know, that you were in this, and I knew what you were playing and so forth. but I wasn't prepared for the kind of performance. Let's talk about one scene in particular, the bedroom scene. Now, the emotion in that scene, I don't know anything I've ever seen on the screen that is any more emotional and so beautifully played. I mean that, Betty.
Thank you.
Not because you're my dear friend,
It's
but
because
truly.
I'm your dear friend.
No, it is not. No, my dear. I can tell you what was going on inside me. I've never been any more moved by anything.
Thank you.
All right, now, what were you drawing on, Betty? Were you thinking of some sadness in your own life? What were you drawing on?
Well, the way I work for a film is I do a lot of preparation. I went to Texas for a week and we rehearsed. Prior to that, I'd been working with the script and stuff. When I went, then I had a 2-week break before we started shooting, and I worked with my coach, who happens to be my ex-husband, Peter Flood. He's a fabulous coach. He coached Jill Clayburgh for all her really fine film roles. And she, in fact, will book his time 6 weeks prior, to shooting. She'll work with him several times a week, several hours a day. She's never really talked about him, which is, I think she should, because he's a wonderful coach. Anyway, I worked with him every day for 2 weeks or so, and several hour sessions. And we went over and over this stuff, and mainly what I talked to him about my fears, and what I knew about this kind of woman and her psychology and everything. And I just laid it out and said, well, I know she's this, and what I'd like to communicate here is this, and what I feel really needs to be, it's complex, because my feelings about life and society and men and women, go very deep, and so any part I play, I want that to be communicated. So I talked about all these things, and then he is very good in that he brings this, well, what is your fear? Well, my fear is that, if I have to play these high-pitched emotional things, and that's very hard to play on film and still have it be palatable, acceptable, because I think people have a hard time handling sizable pain. I mean, none of us want to go through, huge grief. None of us want to really, I don't want to. Nobody does, So he encouraged me to go ahead and experience through the things that I was most afraid of. And then as he knows me, because we've known each other for 14 years now, he would talk to me about things in me that he knew, and generally gave me a feeling of security in handling the emotional things that I had to do. And he encouraged me to go ahead and act certain things out. And then he would assure me that it was, I wasn't going to look terribly ugly, or, that it was too horrible to watch, or anything. So I worked through that. Then he took notes of all of our sessions. We recorded all of the sessions, and then he came back and gave me a body of notes reminding me of certain things to think about that had come up in our sessions that were really dear to me. And then my brother steps in at this point, my brother Norman, who was one of the assistant editors on Tender Mercies. Norman has this really fabulous taste in music, and it happens to be in many ways corresponding to my own taste in music. Norman knows what kind of music will touch my heart. So inevitably, everything I've ever worked on, at a certain point in my work process, Norman will appear. It just always happens this way, I don't know. And he'll say, listen to this piece of music, And so he walked in at that point, when I was in Texas, and he said, right, listen, this is a beautiful piece of music, listen to this. And I listened to it, and it really, music always just goes right through, and kind of just touches me, if it's really what I love, touches me really deeply. And it just so happens that the pieces of music that he brought to me, one was a piano solo by Dave Grusin that is really exquisite. And the other was this really beautiful piece of music by Pat Metheny and Lyle Mays. Lyle Mays went to North Texas and is a great jazz piano player. And both pieces were very profound and really touched that part of my feeling about life, which is eternal, which is kind of sad but so beautiful. And so whenever I would play those pieces of music, I would just drop down into this place inside myself, and I would feel that real softness, that real sensitivity, And the one piece was really great because it had the laughter of children in it. And I thought, oh, this is perfect, you know, because the scene was about her loss of her child. And and it was supposed to be, as it was written, was very dramatic and very hard-edged in that she attacks out of her pain, which is, a lot of that was cut in the film, because the monologue was originally a couple of times as long as that. And so I play the music, but I'd done my homework, so by the time I got to Texas to shoot, I reread my notes and, you know, studied thing. I knew what I wanted to communicate. I had a sense of the things that the qualities that needed to be there. And then the day of the shoot, which was the second day of my shooting, which was very amazing because I wasn't really comfortable yet. I didn't really know my crew yet, or, you know, the people I was working with, they didn't know me. And I had to do this really revealing emotional work. And that's, you know, it's not easy to do. And so I stayed in, I got ready, and they put the wig on me and everything. And I sat in my trailer with my little Walkman, listening to this beautiful piece of very, you know, beautiful, beautiful music with the laughter of children in it, but this like really sad, really pretty thing. And I just meditated and stayed very quiet with myself, listening to that over and 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 over again, because you have to wait a long time in film. And then I went onto the set and just stayed very calm and just concentrated, you know, on that feeling, her being in that situation. And they, you know, he said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, you know, "Well, can we shoot the rehearsal?" I said, "Sure." And so we started, and I just turned around and I look at Robert Duvall's eyes, and his eyes are so wonderful, you know. His concentration is so deep, and so he's like the perfect catcher for, you know, a pitcher. I always think of myself as an athlete, right? And so I'm the pitcher, and he's the catcher behind the camera. I'm in that situation, and then if he were on camera, I'd be the catcher, you know. But his eyes, I just felt like I was like caught, and I was completely safe, you know, because he has that kind of concentration. So I just turned and I started, and I just trusted him. And this stuff just started coming up, you know, because I'd done it, all the homework, and it was all just like waiting to express itself. And I watched his eyes, and his eyes, you know, indicated like that, you know, and I just let him kind of guide me through it like music, you know.
He was the conductor.
Yeah, and that's the way it worked. We
Which
did 3
take
takes.
did they use?
They cut together, I think, the best of the 3 takes. You know, which was, I'm very pleased with the way they cut it. I think William Anderson is a great editor, because he picked, no, it seems to see, as an actor, you know, you have your preference for the delicacy of certain moments because you know what you're trying to communicate. But you never know if other people will have the same appreciation for the quality of your communication. And he did. He cut that scene so beautifully. Little moments that maybe another editor with less sensitivity would have not valued so much, but every moment that I really cherished when I was watching the dailies is there. So I'm like really happy with that.
Betty, one last question, and that is a line, and so many people have repeated this line to me, saying that it was the most chilling line for them. When your character says, "Why did God do this to me?" Mm-hmm. Now that was in the script, wasn't
oh, yes.
it? Yes. Did you play around with that line a lot, or did you just instinctively know what to do with that line?
That was a very hard line for me. I'm interested that you picked that one out, because I found that very difficult to say, because I don't think God does things to us. I don't believe that. And so it was hard for me to say that, for Betty to say that line as Dixie. And I, quite frankly, think that there's a little flatness to it in terms of the way I said that, because there's no conviction. I'm not convinced that God does anything to us but love us, you know, and we misinterpret so much and we distort so much in our thinking. It was very hard for me to say, why has God done this to us? Why has God done this to me? So for me, in the monologue, that's flat. I don't, you know, which maybe is good, because, you know, the flatness, you know, is communicated. You know, it just has that tonality to it. Well, I could never say it with conviction.
It plays beautifully. Okay, now just one. How much longer are you going to be in Cats?
I don't know. I can give notice in the show now at any point to leave for other work, and a couple of things have been offered to me for the summer, but I haven't really made a decision yet. I just want to get through Sunday and see where everything stands. I feel like I'm just chattering today because I'm very, I guess, nervous and excited and everything. I don't feel very calm. I hope this is all right.
It's super, and we can edit it. Okay. I think then that we can just, let's let him pull back to a two-shot and just to establish that, and I'll continue talking. Well, Betty, you know my love and my prayers are with you.
Thank you.
And I only wish I could be here, but you know how in this crazy business we can't always be where we want to be.
Oh, I wish you
but
could.
you know that when you go up on that stage, see, I won't allow any negative vibes at this point. When you go up on that stage, you just know that Bobbie and Phil are just so proud of you. We can't stand it.
I will. I'll know that.
Okay. Thanks, love.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, and oh gosh. Okay, very quickly I'll do these. Betty Lynn, if you have to run, honey, go on.
No, I'm
oh,
fine.
Okay, fine. All right, let me quickly do the. Okay, if you'll
Should I
cut me
move, or-
about here, and let me give you reactions and just a few questions. Won't take long. Okay. Okay, questions, please. Betty, what does the nomination mean to you? What will your feelings be if you win? And if someone else wins? Betty, your big scene in Tender Mercies, the bedroom scene, what were you drawing on to get so much emotion on film? What sort of things did you use to get this technique going?